What's the good word, y'all? It's your boy DKB here. Apologies for my absence the last couple of days. Everybody in my household has gotten sick and we've been trying to fight through it, but I'm back. I wanted to dive more into the OTA news and energy that's going on and circulating right now, and there are plenty of intriguing storylines going on right now. One of the things that I was thinking about as I was catching up on all of the news is that if you think about who you predict to make the 53-man roster, we have a litany of guys that you can, almost guarantee that the New York Jets are going to win some kind of comeback player of the year award, right? You have Aaron Rodgers, his return from his Achilles injury. You can throw, in some world, if this happens, Alan Lazard into the mix if he can live up to the billing of being a wide receiver 4, which looks like a struggle right now, based on all the counts that I've heard. You take a look at Tarik Cohen, who's the topic of our subject today that I wanted to dive into. And then, of course, there's, I don't think we actually have anybody on defense per se, right? Maybe Chuck Clark, if he excels at his position in safety coming off of his extremely rare injury that's taken him out for the first time in his career after having an extremely long Ironman streak. But to focus on the offense, because realistically that's where we have the most question marks. Although for what it's worth, I will say we've been seeing a lot of the news earlier in the offseason about Robert Saleh being more hands-on with the offense and in touch what's happening there. And by all accounts, again, I'm not actually at OTAs, but from all of the different sources I've tapped into, he's been living and breathing that, right? He's almost active, almost has forgotten the defense to some degree, right? He's, arm in arm, shoulder to shoulder with Aaron Rodgers, Nathaniel Hackett. He's in Garrett Wilson's ear. He's chirping it up with a lot of the young rookie running backs. So I love to see it. But along that same line, our new addition, Tarik Cohen, the running back from the famed Chicago Bears, at least for when his career was on the up and up. And our young running backs. So Tarik Cohen coming in, right? He's 28 years old, so he's not a guy that's over the hill just yet. He is, and I put mangled out there on the thumbnail for a reason, right? Because he is a guy that's come off back to back gruesome injuries, right? ACL, MCL, he's had a leg fracture. So he's been on this return comeback circuit for a minute now. Tried to go back to the Chicago Bears, ended up being released, spent time with the Panthers on their practice squad, and then trying to find a way to make it onto the active roster. They let him go. And you take a look at both of those teams, and it's not like they had overwhelming options in the running back room to where he just couldn't make it. And so I thought this is just a shot in the dark, which honestly it is. If we get anything more out of Tarik Cohen than just I don't want to say even solid practice reps is enough, right? Because I'd rather give those to Izzy or Isaiah Davis or Braylon Allen and continue to let them work, right? Running back's one of those positions where youth is king. But if you can get a performance out of the offense where there's some level of consistency and some things out of those few precious reps, I think it's a plus. And then obviously there's the special teams boost that we're really expecting out of him. But you take a look at his career. 2018, it was coming off of All-Pro, Pro Bowl candidacy, had no snaps essentially since 2018. So we're talking about a 4+ year gap of no time, which isn't necessarily the worst thing in a running back position in and of itself when it comes to not having that wear and tear. But we've seen this with Le'Veon Bell. He had that year's worth of a contract dispute. Ultimately, we signed him. It was a bad pairing. Adam Gase never wanted him in that whole drama. But you've seen a lot of that natural innate instinct and ability. And of course, the Jets didn't really have the best offensive line at the time and a myriad of other issues. But just from a running style perspective and the physical ability that we've seen, most recently out of Le'Veon Bell, a lot of that was sapped. It's been interesting to see that hasn't been the case with Tarik Cohen. A lot of people have talked about the speed still being a factor for him out there in OTAs, where he's ripped off a few big plays on the ground. You've also seen where his primary expertise lies. he's been able to rip off some plays in the special teams department. So still glad to see it. And on an offense that doesn't necessarily have a ton of overwhelming speed, right? You have Garrett Wilson, you have Brees, and then essentially you have Izzy, and then maybe Xavier Gibson, right? Those are your four guys where you can say there's some level of above average speed to it, but there's not an abundance of it. So it does stand out to me that you can put Tarik Cohen in that pocket. Now, when it comes to rookies, it's bad news for one person in specific, and this sucks, and it's bad timing for him because it's on it's already on a timeline where Izzy Abanikanda's stock has been continuing to trend down, right? He couldn't see the field at any point last year. The biggest highlight from the coaching staff was that he's not as decisive in his running and getting downhill when he needs to, which for what it's worth was somewhat of the same criticism Robert Saleh had for Breece Hall at one point earlier in the season. And then the other piece is that the pass blocking wasn't where it needed to be, right? There's a lot of stuff that he needed to sharpen up just from a fundamental standpoint of being that third down type running back. Tarik Cohen seems like he fits a lot better, right? You have a bunch of power guys in front of him now. You could throw Breece Hall in the same category that you could put Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis in. It's just not a specialty of his. But then obviously you have your two young bruisers, and then Tarik Cohen is the guy that's offering you plus speed. He's offering you plus receiving ability because that's kind of also his bread and butter. And then he also has a definitive role in special teams if he can win one of the return jobs, which for what it's worth, we've already heard Saleh say the immediate, punt and kick return jobs are going to Xavier Gibson. It's going to be up to anybody else to kind of take that stranglehold away from him. Now, I don't think there's going to be anything that doesn't say he can't. Robert Saleh predicted 100-plus returns this year. Who knows if that's anything close to what we'll actually see. If I recall correctly, the Packers led last year's 2023 season with 31 returns, so it's definitely going to be more significant value than that, but it would help to take some of that pressure off Xavier Gibson, or at least keep him fresh, if you will. But with the young running backs, we've seen Isaiah Davis rotating between first and second team. We've seen Braylon Allen rotating between first and second team, and from what I recall, he's been the primary running back with Breece Hall being out with a minor bruise. 14 periods, Braylon Allen's been soaking up a lot of that. But then Izzy, when you get to his workload, he has struggled. He hasn't played with the first team at all, right? He's been mainly stuck between second team, and now with Tarik Cohen's arrival, where Tarik Cohen has even gotten first team reps already, he's been stuck and designated to the third team, where he's working primarily with quarterback Andrew Peasley, which is one of the quarterbacks that won a roster spot during the rookie mini camp, right, with Kobe Suits, something similar along those lines. So you pair that up with the fact that Robert Saleh's already had some glowing remarks for him. Brant Boyer, our special teams coach, has already been, somewhat of a fan favorite of his for, a number of years already. And you can kind of see the writing on the wall. Now, it's not 100% bad for Izzy, right? The Jets could still throw him on the practice squad. Ideally, I would assume there's not enough out there for anybody else to take the shot on him, unless they don't need to see the tape and they're willing to die and, live based on what they've seen from him out of college. But you can always try to sneak him on the practice squad. Maybe he just needs additional time, right? It's a position where you expect guys to be able to hit the floor running sooner than expected, just based on athleticism, if nothing else. But obviously that's not Izzy's path right now to be able to see the field. So we'll see how that pans out. Ultimately, let me know what you guys think, though. I am pretty hyped for Tarik Cohen. It would be a nice story to see a guy, 4+ years removed from football, come back, make a strong impact on a team that does have Super Bowl aspirations. Plus, that veteran ability and leadership doesn't hurt to have in that running back room for a guy that's played in some pivotal moments itself. So, nonetheless, once again, let me know what you guys think, and I'll catch you again. Peace.